So when I was on the Camino, I was sharing and people were like cheering me on, I think, because I was being really fucking real.
Yeah.
You know, I wasn't just showing all the glorious parts of the Camino.
No, because it's not meant to be glorious.
I was in the depths of my emotions again. And I mean, it was lovely and it was beautiful. And I met so many wonderful people, but I had an intention when I walked. So I started in St. John Pied de Port. And my intention was to walk to Santiago in Spain. So it was, I think, the straight route, or not, it's not straight, but from A to B is 789 kilometers. And then there's like deviations and stuff you can take off. That was my intention. I did no preparation at all.
Welcome to the Enlightened Podcast, the enlightened journey of life. Because we're not just here to chase enlightenment, we are here to live life, to embody all aspects of ourselves, to bring the sacred into every day. I'm your host, Jen Hamilton, self-mastery mentor, tantra guide, and sacred rebel at heart. This podcast is a devotion to the art of knowing thyself. Through solo snippets, raw musings, and deep conversations with epic guests, we explore the sacred, the sensual, and the spiritual, diving deep into self-exploration and always leaving you with something to take away. This isn't just a podcast, it's a portal to awaken, to liberate, to remember who you truly are. It is an honor to have you here. Let's get enlightened. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Enlightened Podcast. I'm your host, Jen, and my very special guest today is Kristy Donaldson. Kristy is an embodied transformation facilitator, shadow integration guide, and breathwork practitioner. She trains and certifies coaches, practitioners, and awakening leaders in embodied transformation and breakthrough breathwork, equipping them to hold safe, ethical, and powerful spaces for deep change. Her teachings blend shadow integration, somatic practices, and breathwork with a focus on sovereignty, integrity, and embodied leadership. Kristy is also the founder of Resilient Breath, bringing nervous system regulation and resilience practices into corporate settings for leaders and teams. Whether guiding practitioners in certification or supporting organizations through breath-led resilience, Kristy's work is grounded, transformative, and designed to ripple change into every layer of life. It was an absolute pleasure to have Kristy on the show. I loved our conversation. She is a phenomenal human. She's got an incredible story as well. So I know you're going to absolutely love this episode. So without further ado, let's dive in. Hello, welcome back to the Enlightenment Podcast. I'm joined by the incredible Kristy. Welcome.
Oh, thank you. So good to be here, Jen.
I know, because I was on your podcast that you had ages ago, and then we finally get to connect in person. We get to sit down for a cacao and a chat. And we're going to dive into all things like embodiment, spirituality, but we're going to be really real about it in this episode as well, because I think you and I sit in a very similar perspective of the personal development and the spiritual development space. So there will be no filters here. No. And that's the exciting part. So tell us about what it is. What's the magic that you bring to the world?
So for me, up until recently, I was a psych development coach. I helped people connect in with source energy, which was really their truest, most authentic part of who they are, their self. And I am now an embodied transformational facilitator. So I teach people breathwork and frameworks to lead people into their bodies, to allow themselves, so their clients, to guide their own transformational change.
And it's interesting, isn't it? Because I've always said the healing industry is no different to the pharmaceutical industry, that it's a subscription model. Yes. And because I've heard of so many people before going, I've been seeing my Reiki person for 15 years and it's just this over and over and I'm having this clearing and this, that, and the other. And I'm like, what is happening to you? What you want to shake some people because it's like, that's not how it's supposed to be. I don't know what story you've been sold, but if you're going back for the same thing over and over again, girlfriend, it's not working.
It's not. And it's outsourcing. We have the power inside of us.
Yes.
You know, what I would love to see, even Reiki and all energy healing, is if you feel the need to go more than 3 times, you should learn it yourself.
Yes.
To create that inside of you.
Yeah. Where do you think it started to shift, where people just weren't trusting themselves? Because we've really seen like this massive boom in our industry in the last, I'd say, 15 years. Like I remember, like I'm almost in my late 30s. I just turned 39. So 39 and a half is my late 30s, I've decided. And I started in this space when I was 20, and I was the only woo-woo one at my age in my friend circle. And I was going to meditation every week. I was learning psychometry. I was learning how to read. I was doing cards. I was like loving life. I was connecting. I was getting messages. And I was the weird one. I was the only one, and I loved it. I was like, I'm out of the spiritual closet. Like I had no issues like being that person. And then I guess we saw the rise of the Doreen Virtue cards.
Oh, yes. We did.
We did. And then
the backflip.
Yeah. And then the almighty backflip. And then it was almost like, okay, then there's Reiki. And then there's breath work. And then it was almost like if you weren't in the spiritual development space, you're a personal trainer. And then it was like every second person was a personal trainer. And then everyone was a life coach. And then everyone was a breathwork facilitator. And now everyone's talking about medicine. And like it's been a trend, right?
It has. And I think, when we get down to the crux of spirituality, it really is coming back to self.
Always. Yeah.
And at some point we had tools in front of us, like all the things you just mentioned, to be able to help facilitate that within ourselves. And then that became a business model. And at some point we just started outsourcing that completely to someone else, handing our power away.
Yeah.
And we have so many, the people I work with is usually women in their mid 40s. They're having massive life transitional changes, and they're feeling so lost and powerless. And, I think it's really important, as a coach, as a facilitator myself, to hand that power back to them, to guide them back to themselves, to really reconnect back to where they are. And at some point, I don't know where that disconnected, but we got lost along the way. And
it's almost like social media became this catalyst, and even the existence of Canva to create pretty marketing.
Yes.
To create pretty videos.
Yes.
For us to go, this is what I do, this is who I am. And then like you just see things trending, and people buy pretty things, or people buy what they think that person embodies based on what they see on social media. And they're like, oh, they're wildly successful.
Yes.
They've healed their money wounds. They've downloaded codes. Yes. They've done all of this stuff. Teach me how to do that. And you see people filling rooms with, people that are going, pay this amount of money and you can have this too. Like, I mean, you and I have been in those rooms.
We have been. And, to me, that's what's led us here now.
Yeah.
And we have healed that lack of powerlessness in ourselves, inside ourselves. And that's the thing I really want to guide people back to. But, you see the latest thing is light language and come and download my codes. I don't want your codes. I want my own. And we all have our own code. It's such it's not empowering language. It's really disempowering language.
Yeah.
And to me, that's coming from someone that's wounded. It's they're I don't even know where to start with what that means for them. But I think it's an industry that's quite sick at the moment.
It is. And I think it's going to go through its own repair cycle. Totally. It's like it's going to go into this
swing.
Yeah, it's going to go through, it's got to fast, and then like it goes into autophagy and clears out the dead cells. Yes. So I think because it's become its own ecology, it will clean itself up. But I think people are realizing, hang on, this isn't working for me, or I'm actually not making money because everybody's everyone's got the same offer. It was the same as, the rise of the essential oil businesses,
right?
There's all the makeup ones or the hair ones, like they go through like this massive growth, like there's exponential growth, and everyone's on board, and there's community, and there's the dream, and there's the cars, and there's all of the things. And then there's the people going, I've got scraps here, or I'm feeling really uncomfortable asking my mum to buy this pack every month. And I think we're seeing that over and over again.
Sounds like Amway.
It is exactly like Amway.
I may or may not have.
Tupperware.
May or may not have.
It was cool back
Grace
then, though.
Cosmetics, may or may not have.
I did the Mary Kay thing.
Yes.
I did all of the
Yes, the
things.
Mary
Yeah,
Kay,
dipped my
yes.
toe into the
Oh my
Arbonne
gosh.
thing for a hot minute.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and this is the thing, like you are sold the dream, and I feel like this is no different to that. So what does it look like when people come to you? What state are they in? Are they just, like you said, they're just
Completely, am I allowed to swear?
absolutely
Completely fucking lost.
Yeah.
And they've lost their identity. They don't know who they are anymore, and most of them, like I said before, are in their mid-40s. So either they've gone through a divorce, they've lost someone close to them through illness or whatever, or their kids are just grown up and moved out of home, and it's like,
now what?
Like, I'm in this relationship. I'm not quite sure why we're together anymore, because the only thing they've sort of had in common for the last 18 to 20 years is the children.
Kids, exactly.
And it's like, what do I do? And they're on their own journey. But that's
yeah. And what is it that they just need to be reminded of to come home to themselves?
just that they are already there.
It's already there.
It's already there. It's not something they need to go looking for. It's, because this is that outsourcing. They want the scraps that are being sort of handed to them. They want the codes that people are downloading. They want the manifestation techniques that bring in, the love of their life, and that they don't see beyond the perfection that they see on social media. They just see the perfection that's there, which is a whole other story. And it's really just a journey back to self and learning to have boundaries again, and learning to self-care and self-love. And, as much as massages and having your nails done is all part of that, there's a lot more, like learning how to say no.
Yeah.
Because a lot of women, especially the ones where the kids are left home and they're feeling so lost, is because they're used to being the mother, but not just to the kids, but they realize how much they give to everyone else and how much they're not receiving.
Yeah.
So learning to give back to themselves, have space for that, and even just be comfortable in the stillness of life and the spaciousness of life without having to fill it with things to do and people to fix. And
absolutely. And especially like when you've been a mum for so long, and if you've had a relationship and then it's broken down and you are left on your own, there's this whole new version of yourself waiting for you to get to know. And that can be really daunting.
That is really daunting. And from personal experience, when that happens, it's like your future isn't written. But if you were to hold a book of your life, past, present, and future, in front of you, you would be able to see some form in those pages ahead. And when that person leaves your life, those pages become blank. And that can be both scary and exciting at the same time. And initially, it's scary as fuck. It's like, oh my God, what does life hold for me now? It's like, I sort of had to reprogram my brain to go, well, this is exciting. This means we get to write new pages.
Yeah, there's a mystery now.
There is. But there's like a gap between them that you just like,
yeah, and you get to really deeply grieve the future that you thought was going to exist in a certain way. And this happens, it's not just, if kids are moving out. This is with a relationship breakdown. This is with family members. This is like, this could be the death of somebody. This could be the loss of a job, the dissolving of a business, loss of a pet as well, like all sorts of things, your own health.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I know that, and you went through a massive life rupture a couple of years ago. I'd love to hear your journey, because then I want to speak into what the journey that you went on physically after that. So would you like to share what happened?
So my ex-partner and I were together for almost 18 years and completely caught me off guard. We split. He came back. I thought our life was going back on track, and then I realised I was living a lie, not just for the time that he'd come back for, but I discovered for a long time before that. So it wasn't even just my future had disappeared. It was like what was real in my past as well. Like there was a lot of questions and there were some really dark moments that I went through. And I really had to just be with myself. I kind of not disassociated, maybe disassociated is the word. I disengaged probably more so from the world around me for a little bit. And I had to go inwards to just hold myself and be there. My kids were growing up. I'd moved into a unit. I had a lot to do with my grandkids as well at the time. But when this happened, I just said to them, look, I can't be here. I'm here. I love you. I had to sit them down and explain that I can't be here for myself right now. I can't hold you guys properly through these things. So what actually I need is you guys to be there for me right now. And my kids really stood up and held me through that. They're young, very young adults, but still adults and the most beautiful kids that I could ask for. And they held me through that. And so did my girlfriends. They really sort of stepped into that. So that was the healing cycle that happened. And I remember there was one point I would say I was at my darkest moment. If you asked me if I was suicidal, I was in this point in my life where I was just like, I was on this roller coaster ride of emotions. And I just wanted it to stop. It was like I'd be happy one day and then the next 3 days I'd be down and then I'd start to feel happy again and then I'd be like, oh, I'm good again. I'm good. We've finally moved through this and then down again. And I used to explain it like I'm on this roller coaster and I'm like strapped in so hard and there's no way that I can take this belt off. And every time it comes in to stop, the ride takes off again. And I just wanted it to stop. And I would say that I was suicidal then. And I remember this one morning I went out to Burleigh Hill. I used to go up and watch the sun. I used to walk to the top, watch the sunrise and sit down at the base and do breath work. I was doing 30 breaths in 30 days just to bring me back to presence. And I was in the middle of this breath work session. I filmed because I was filming the 30 breaths in 30 days. And I filmed this pivotal moment, like the most transformational moment I would say of my life, the more I think about it. And in the video, you see me doing the breath and then all of a sudden I sort of stop and I start tearing up and I become really overwhelmed with emotion. And I felt an energy behind me and I was like, is that my spirit guides? Is that my angels, is this my spirit team? Because it felt like more than one. It was a really big energy and it kept growing. And then they leant in and they just went, you just need to keep moving. You just need to take another step. On the other side of this hill, there's something bigger and better waiting for you. You just need to get through today. And then tomorrow, you just need to get through tomorrow. And I get teary thinking about this. But, I did. I got through that day and then I got through the next day. And at the end of that year, I took myself overseas for 3 months by myself. I'd never traveled by myself, especially for that amount of time. And I had these moments, and I did this a few times before I realized that these moments where I was like, oh my God, life really is good. I kept thinking of this girl on the hill that had this moment and I kept leaning into her and going, it's okay, it's great on the other side. And I realized that this feeling behind me wasn't anything other than these future versions of myself leaning back in and going, just come on, like just pull through. It gets so much better. And even today I have these moments and I go in, I'm like, I need to get that girl through because without that, I don't know if I'd be here, to be honest. So, that was a really big journey for me. And then that led to the Camino and meeting pain in many different ways.
Yeah. Tell us about your Camino journey.
Yeah.
Hang on, sip some cacao.
Yes, give me some
sip
cacao.
some cacao. And then breathe. It's so funny because I watched your journey because it wasn't long. I think we recorded the podcast that we did before this had happened, and then it kind of came about, and I'm watching your journey, and I'm watching this strength that you're finding, and you're sharing your walk, you're sharing your preparation to go overseas, then you're overseas, then you're in the Camino, and I'm on the sideline like, oh my God, yes, go, go, go. You've got this. Like, there were so many cheerleaders back home supporting you on this journey.
So many. And I think because, for me, we'll go back to what we were talking about before. Social media shows perfection. Like, what the fuck is perfection?
Exactly.
Right? All we're doing, like, if we're going to show up on social media for our businesses, we owe it to our audience to show them the cracks. If you're going to show your perfect life, you need to show them the imperfections in your perfect life so that people don't have this false sense of reality of what they're aiming for. Because all that's doing is setting them up for failure.
Absolutely. Cass and I recorded a podcast episode last night, and we, because I've got another podcast that I co-host with.
Yeah.
And both of us were interviewed by Greg, and he said, what are some of the biggest challenges you face? And we were just like, oh, where do you want us to start? And like, we share them so openly, and it's like, that's what's real for us. Like, don't put us on any kind of like relationship pedestal thinking that we don't have issues. We've just got a very different set of issues because we do long distance.
Absolutely. Right. And I think that's what happens as well on social media. People pedestal us and they're like, I want that life. I'm like, get me off that pedestal.
Yeah, calm down.
I don't want to be on it. No one should be on it. I'm here living my life just like you're here living yours. So when I was on the Camino, I was sharing and people were like cheering me on, I think because I was being really fucking real.
Yeah.
I wasn't just showing all the glorious parts of the Camino.
No, because it's not meant to be glorious.
I was in the depths of my emotions again. And I mean, it was lovely and it was beautiful. And I met so many wonderful people, but I had an intention when I walked. So I started in St. John Pied de Port, and my intention was to walk to Santiago in Spain. So it was, I think, the straight route, or not, it's not straight, but from A to B is 789 kilometers. And then there's like deviations and stuff you can take off. That was my intention. I did no preparation at all. I just went.
Like Forrest Gump.
I just went. My God. And this is the thing in some of the groups, people go, oh, how many years do I need to, I'm like, what are you talking about years? Like I just turned up and went, if we wait until we're ready, when are we, like, what's ready?
Ready's not a feeling, it's a decision.
It is.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm doing this now, I'm never going to do it. So I walked with the intention that, I'd recognize that I had a pattern in relationships and I needed that to end with, like, I wanted that to end with me, and I didn't want this to be something that my kids and my grandkids carried down the line. And the idea was to walk it out, and I walked it out. I had every archetype of everything that I attract meet me along the way. And I was like, oh, here I am thinking I'm going to work this out in my mind. And actually I was working it out physically with boundaries and conversations and curiosity and all the things. And I got to the end and there was a huge shift in energy. It was really beautiful. But it was not easy. It was physically, it was painful. And there was a part of me at some point that thought, am I using the physical pain to avoid the emotional pain? But pain is the portal, and pain actually brought me back into my body to allow me to move that energy and help integrate it. The Camino has so much magic on it. And anyone that leaves from St. John Pied de Port to Santiago, everyone is carrying something. I walked alone. People are like, oh my God, you walked alone. I'm like, it's such, there's so many people that leave every single day. There's hundreds of thousands of people that walk this route every year.
Yeah.
And there's like 2 or 3 questions that everyone asks when you pass people, when you walk with people. I like to walk alone, but we'd talk as we sort of come up to people, and it'd be like, where did you start from? What's the reason you're walking? Like, what are you walking with? And I think the walking and the explaining, and every time you share it, and they just listen. No one wanted to fix.
Yeah, they're not coaches.
No, everyone just listened.
Yeah,
and
beautiful.
I think the more you spoke it out, the story didn't shift or change, but the attachment,
the energy,
yeah. You could feel the energy shift the closer you got to Santiago. And yeah, it's beautiful.
What's that moment like when you get to Santiago?
Do you know, when I first, because I got to Santiago and I walked in and I thought I was going to be really emotional, and I wasn't, but I also hadn't finished walking. So I went to Finisterre because I had a ritual that I wanted to do in Finisterre. And then when I came back, I still was like ready to go to, actually, you know what? I came back to go to the south of France. So I came back into Santiago, wasn't emotional. I sat in my hotel room to book a flight the next day to meet a friend in the south of France. I was like, I am so done with walking. And I ended up on a bus site, and I booked a bus to Porto and walked from Porto for the next day, and I walked from Porto in Portugal back to Santiago. And actually, when I got in the third time I hit, and this is all like in the same period of time, there was no break. When I got back in the third time, it felt complete. And I was emotional. I had all my family on FaceTime, like they were all there. And yeah, it was a really beautiful moment. And I feel like that second part of the walk was actually to integrate what I had walked through in the first part.
Yeah. And it feels like it's a rite of passage for some people to move through, and then you come out and you're changed. You don't walk the Camino and be like, oh yeah, that was a lovely day.
You will never come back the same person. The person that walks out of Saint John Pied de Port is not the same person that arrives at Santiago.
Yeah.
Not by far.
Was the Camino ever on a bucket list of yours? Was it ever like, oh yeah, maybe one day?
I love that you asked that. So years ago I watched The Way with Martin Sheen, and I was like, oh yeah, I want to do that. It was just a bucket list. And then when I went through the split, I sat down, and The Way just showed up in I can't remember how it happened, but I sat down one day and I watched it again, and I just bawled my eyes out. I was more emotionally charged the second time watching it than the first. And while I was like watching it, I heard a voice come in behind me again and said, "You're walking Camino in June next year."
Wow.
And I was like, okay. And from that point, there was no, like, I knew that I was walking the Camino. And when I had later on said that I was going to Europe, I was like, I'm going to Europe in December till February, and then I'll be back to walk the Camino in June. And people are like, wait, what? What do you mean you're going back? Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just knew it inside of me. And I walked out on the 4th of June, like last year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, how incredible.
So beautiful.
And is it something you'd go back and do again?
Yeah, so I've already been back this year, and I went back to Le Puy-en-Velay, which is 800 kilometres before Saint John Pied de Port. And I walked out of there on February 14th on Valentine's Day.
Yeah. On
Valentine's Day, I walked out of there, and I was officially the first Australian to leave out of Le Puy-en-Velay.
Oh, wow.
On this year.
Yeah.
So I just, again, it was another voice in my head that said, you're walking in February, you're going to walk in Le Puy. And I was like, well, wait, why? I had no idea why. And I kept asking, and I got nothing. And I just figured that I just needed to walk and work out what that was. And I did. I walked. And when I realized what I was walking for, I got to Figeac. I got to Figeac, and I had an injury that from a few weeks prior that had started to really flare up. And I sort of sat with that. I had a couple of days rest. And inside of that, I was like, I feel like now that I know what I'm walking with, I need to go back onto the Francis. So I caught a train down to St. John Pied de Port and started walking. But I got to Castro Giraz, and that injury ended up being a stress fracture on my foot that I've been walking on for 3 weeks.
Ow.
And the decision was to come home. So I am back next year.
Yeah, beautiful.
In May, June, and I'll be walking it with my partner.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Is it his first time?
Yes.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
With things like injuries that happen, because there's injuries and there's injuries, right? And so there's usual things that happen, like you're going to get sore.
Yeah,
you're going to get blisters. Your feet are going to swell. You're going to get sore knees. These things are going to happen. When do you call it?
So the first time I walked with a blister, I don't know, 5-10 centimeters long on the side of my foot from start to finish. I was in pain every single day and I kept walking. This time it was a stress fracture. So it wasn't fully broken, but it was getting worse. And I could have continued. I could have had my bag carried on or whatever, but was I really loving myself by forcing that? I had to sit with, what is the goal of finishing? What if this is, because I like to finish what I started.
Yeah.
And part of the reasoning of me not wanting to come home was, no, I'm here, like I'm meant to be walking to Santiago. And I needed to let go of that. And for me, part of my lesson was letting go of the attachment of what needed to happen to allowing what was happening to unfold.
Yeah. And isn't it, it's so interesting, isn't it? Because when you're put in such a decision like that, you get to decide, and it's such a pivotal time of your life, because you get to decide, do I push on like I've always pushed on?
Yeah.
Do I honor and nurture myself? But is nurturing myself actually the easy route? Like there's so much, I guess, deliberation within that.
Absolutely. And a lot of self-gaslighting inside of it too. As a coach, like I don't know about you, I gaslight myself a lot.
Every time.
And I have to go, no, I need to, what is underneath there? And for me, the part of the reason this year was I have a new partner now, and a lot of stuff was coming up. There's a part of me that just wanted to keep running because I'm in a beautiful, healthy, loving, safe, nurturing relationship, and I had no reference point of that. So I'm so blessed that I have the awareness that the feeling of wanting to run inside of me was just that my nervous system didn't feel safe.
Yes.
In a place that I'd never experienced. And I understood that chaos is where I've survived my whole life. And even walking this year was probably part of me wanting to run, right? And as much as I thought I'd healed the relationship that was broken a couple of years ago, there was parts of me that I couldn't meet until I was in a beautiful, safe, loving relationship for the rest of the stuff to come up. And when I was walking, I walked in winter. It was brutally cold. There was ice, there was snow. It is not one of the easiest walks to start with, but add snow and ice on top of that.
That's next level.
I threw myself into an extreme. And when I reflect, there was a part of me that needed the extreme for me to allow this stuff to allow that to crack me open so that this stuff could fully arise. So when I finally got to Castro Giraz, there was something that kept coming up throughout my walk, which was like, Colin and I were having a conversation one day early on in the walk, and I got really angry. I actually wrote a song about this anger, this fire that was coming up inside of me. But after that day, I couldn't access it anymore. And I was trying to work out what the trigger was inside of it. I was like, I just need it to come up so I could work with the trigger. And it just kept going into this void. And I just had this void there. When I got to Castro Giraz, it's like, I don't understand what this void is. Now, I take people into these places all the time, and I had sat on the sideline of this void trying to work out what it was, and I needed to go into it. So when I finally dove into the void, the bit that I was avoiding, and it guided me back to what I was not willing to see, this is, I thought that I wasn't an avoidant until this point. Like, I've got so many avoidant traits that have just been masked and disguised my whole life. So the decision to leave was, I actually feel like I got the medicine that I came for.
Yeah.
When I went into that void, and it was inside of that I gave myself permission to just go, you're right to go home.
It's done now. Yeah. What would you recommend to people listening if they can't get to the Camino?
Yeah.
If they can't get straight to the Camino, but they're like, there's something that needs to shift. There is something sitting there. Is it breath work? Is it meditation? Where would you take them inside of themselves to experience the void, or to experience just feeling? Because most of us just know how to avoid the void.
Right.
Or let's do all the stuff and the things, because we can do the Band-Aids real good.
Yeah.
And I even find sometimes breath work's a Band-Aid, meditation's a Band-Aid.
Yeah.
Let's just elevate our consciousness to a place outside of the depth and the dark so that we don't have to feel it. Where would you recommend people go within themselves? This episode of the Enlighten podcast is proudly sponsored by the Sanctuary of Self, your portal to self-discovery and creating a sanctuary within. At the Sanctuary of Self, our philosophy is rooted in the belief that true transformation begins with knowing yourself deeply. Here you will find my signature programs. It's the home of all of my Tantra offerings, including in-person sessions in Brisbane, workshops and trainings all around Australia. I invite you to start with the Flourish Collective membership, a nurturing sanctuary for personal growth and transformation. This membership offers a greenhouse of resources, including workbooks, meditations, and soulful self-paced practices designed to help you cultivate alignment, purpose, and self-love. At only $44 per month with no lock-in contract, you can access an abundance of resources, videos, ebooks, meditations, and workshops with new content added monthly. Head to sanctuaryofself.love for all the juicy details.
One thing that I always do is really drop into that feeling. So for me, that void that I could see was actually a feeling inside of me. So it's like, let's just drop into that and give it a voice. And it's like, hey, what are you protecting me from? And I'll journal with this. And I speak to it like it, like you and I are sitting here.
It's a conversation. Yeah.
And whatever comes from that space, I write down. I don't analyze. I don't judge. Even if it doesn't make sense, I just write what's there. And often inside of that, there's an uncomfortable feeling of even just sitting and listening and witnessing. Breath, not so much, doing, emotional breath work, breakthrough breath work. I think that has a place. But getting through these moments, knowing how to just breathe yourself, because breath has held me through these moments. Those uncomfortable feelings where you kind of want to retract. It's like, the other day I went for 2 skin biopsies, and I have the most fear around anything surgical. And, whether that's a trauma or I don't know, but breath held me through that fear. I was able to sit in the fear and the uncomfortability of that and just focus on my breath and breathe through it. And it's like this beautiful warm hand sort of just holding you through those moments. But I think journaling has really been the most transformational piece for me, is just giving myself permission to hear what these uncomfortable feelings are, the sensations inside of our body. Our body has so much wisdom.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
And it can be really profound.
It can be.
You
and
can't think about this stuff.
No, and I find with journaling, like it's like automatic writing for me. I've been doing it for years and years and years. And I go through cycles with it as well. Like sometimes I'm like, I don't want to pick it up for a couple of weeks. I'm like, I can just think about the stuff. I don't need to write it down. And other times I'm like, give me my pen and my journal and a cacao and some nice music and my essential oils on and the sun on me.
Right. And that's what you need in those moments.
Exactly. It's what I need. And I went through something similar probably about, 2 months ago, I think it must have been. And it was just this sensation of like, there's something brewing and it's something uncomfortable and it's something I don't want to look at because I know that it's something I have to face off with. And it's almost like life was leading me somewhere and it was like, I don't want to go there. I don't want to admit to that. And then when I admitted to myself, I don't want to life coach anymore in the capacity that I have done for all of this time, because stepping into the Tantra space, I was still coaching and I was starting to incorporate and embody Tantra more so. And then when I started teaching Tantra, I remember I was over in Perth and I was co-facilitating with my teacher over there. She asked me to come over and help teach her for one of the modules. And I was in the room and I was like, this feels like home. Like teaching this feels like home. I'm like, I've done coaching for so long and it's been wildly successful, and then it hasn't been as well, and then it has been, and then it hasn't been. And there was this level of discomfort that was brewing. And when I was in the room teaching, I was like, this feels like home. And what I didn't want to admit to myself is that I had worked up something so much and then been like, what will people think if I'm jumping to the next thing? But also, what am I judging within myself? If I think other people are judging me, what am I judging within myself because of that? And then it took me a few days to land with it, to really sit and go, now that I've voiced it, my energy has shifted. I feel a lot brighter. I feel like I've voiced it. I voiced it to my partner, Cass. I'm like, I need to tell you something. This is how I'm feeling. And like, I remember we were driving on one of the days he was dropping me off at the training. And I'm like, this is really real for me. And one of the biggest things that I did is, and it sounds so trivial, but I changed my number plates because I had Girl Boss number plates for the last 7 years, GRLBO55. And it was through a time, like I was at a networking event that was sponsored by PPQ, and I held like these core flute makeup plates and you got your photo with it. And I was like, I need these Girl Boss plates. And I was known for the Girl Boss plates, and I was known for working with women, working with girl boss, like all of that. And I felt like I had built myself this persona. I felt like there was times my car would be recognized or people would take photos of it. And I was in my car, my kids were in my car, and I was really uncomfortable with it. And I said to Cass, and I said, the plates have to come off the car. They have to come off. I just want normal Queensland number plates. And so I got back to Brisbane and I did that. And it was just like this release. It was this letting go. I did a post on Facebook to be like, I'm hanging up my coaching hat in the capacity that it's been. I'm still like, I'll still mentor some of the clients that are going through, bigger things, not just like the traditional coaching style I was doing. And Tantra was where my heart has found itself, and teaching, and it's been this evolution. But had I avoided the void, I wouldn't have got there.
No.
I would have been running from my own discomfort. And this is why it's so important to give yourself the space. Like I canceled things that week. I was like, I'm not available. I'm in the void. And I'm comfortable to say to people, I'm in the black part. I'm in the dark bit. And some people go, oh, you know what I mean? Like that. Oh, what do you need? I don't need anything. Like, I'm just like, they know that, like, it's almost like, enjoy the magic of this, enjoy the mystery that's unfolding, because so much of the shifts I've had in my own life have come because I had to go through those dark periods.
That's beautiful. And I love that you gave yourself the space with cancelling appointments and all the things because, that's to me, my biggest moments have been when I've given myself the space. And actually when I walked the Camino, I gave myself so much space that so much dropped in, and I was able to, I didn't have to be there for anyone or anything. All I had to focus on was my next, like one foot in front of the other. Like I got to a point, I didn't even know what day it was. I had no reference point of doing something on a certain day that I actually went a whole day without knowing what day of the week it was. And that felt really beautiful. It's like, what a way to live. But it is in that spaciousness that we can find those moments, and we need to give ourselves the grace. That's self-care.
We do. That is self-love. Absolutely. And I find, travel, whether it's international or whether it's locally, when you take yourself out of your regular day-to-day, when you don't have, the clients, the kids, the school lunches, the school drive, the traditional things that you're doing day in, day out, what do you have? Like you've got to notice where your mind goes. There's so many times I've gone over to Perth, and, Cass and I do a lot of off-roading over there, and we spend time in nature, and we don't see people for days. It's great. Like Western Australia is amazing to go and find yourself. And it's like, what where does your mind want to take you
Yeah.
when you're not just stuck in the cycle of doing the stuff day in, day out? And that's your true essence.
Yeah,
That's what
it
you're
is.
either going to find chaos or creativity, and both are welcome.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Both are perfect. Both are perfect. I think, I really love that you love Tantra and that you've recognized that that is like your true essence. With my shift, very similar to yours, I've stepped away from leading people from the head and really bringing them back to the body. This is where true transformation happens here.
Yeah.
You can't outthink your nervous system.
No.
Your body is wiser than you give it credit for. And, that's where our true essence lies.
Absolutely. Like I loved that because I started in like clinical hypnotherapy, psychotherapy, NLP. It was all head based.
Yeah.
No one said what's actually going on in your body. I did know that the subconscious mind is every single cell in your body, but there was no there was no somatic training. There was no working in with certain what's actually happening in your body. It started to sort of become a little bit more apparent with past life regression therapy when I stepped into that. And it's not that it's jumping from one thing to another. For me, it was always the evolution of it's like, how does this other thing that I'm so wildly interested in add into where is this bringing it all together? And so having the background in hypnotherapy, coaching, NLP, if someone comes in and they're going through stuff that needs that support, great, I'm your person, and I feel that as a Tantra teacher, I want to teach facilitators that it's great to have other modalities under your belt. Definitely. Because Tantra can only take you so far, just like coaching can only take you so far, just like breathwork can only take you so far, just like NLP, they've all got they've all got their ceilings. Exactly. They're all supportive tools. Yeah. And as Tantra is as well. And so it opens you up to more beautiful things. And it's like, find what you love. Like for me, I just want to talk about death and sex. Yeah. They're the most two taboo subjects on earth. And I'm like, let's talk about those things. And it was either go down the path of being a death doula or working in the funeral industry or Tantra.
Have you seen Dying for Sex?
No.
Oh my God, you have to see that.
Is that a Netflix thing?
I don't think it's Netflix. Maybe Disney Plus.
Okay, I will get Disney Plus again.
You absolutely. There's a death doula at the end, but it's all about sex.
Amazing.
And death, which is beautiful.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's stuff that we don't talk about enough.
We don't.
And I started my journey. I worked in an adult store many years ago. And so I was always the one that was open to talking about this stuff. And it doesn't surprise me that my Facebook posts used to be photos with me and dildos in the sex shop to now oh no, it's a sacred lingam now.
It is. So it's a bit of a transition there.
Yeah.
But, we don't talk about sex enough.
No.
And sex is sacred. We were created from a sexual experience. Yes. How can that be taboo?
So taboo. Orgasm, so many different, sexuality is just this, it's this monumental part of ourselves, and it's so tucked away and shamed, and it's so taboo. And it's no, I'm here to break that as well. But what I've noticed, getting into the Tantra industry, is hearing so many people with some really shitty stories of things that have happened in the industry, so many misconceptions. And so not only am I teaching people what Tantra is, I'm teaching people what it isn't. Yeah. That's the majority of what I do is what it isn't.
I think you're right there, because I have Tantra teachers and none of them are here in Australia. They're all overseas. And when I went on my journey of discovery, because I've always been really intuitive, even before I was a psychic development coach or used my abilities to read, and I felt the ickiness. Yeah. And there was a superiority from teachers, and I was like, how is that? How are people not seeing this? I'm on the outside looking in. And I'm not saying that's the entire industry, and I think it's changed a lot since I sort of lent in and went through my trainings. But yeah, I think it's Tantra's a way of life. It's a way of living. It is.
Yeah. And it's a lot of people ask what is Tantra? And I always say, well, do you know what yoga is? it's a way of living. There is philosophies around yoga. There is different modalities within yoga itself. There's movement, there's breath, there's all different things. It's just that we take it in a different space with Tantra. And so many people are like, I've heard so many people say, oh, I went to a Tantra event. It was just a temple night and it was a massive orgy.
And I think that's, when we do talk about Tantra, everyone's like, oh, it's just all about sex and positions. Like that is an aspect of it. But that's not all of it.
No, and it's not. It's like you don't even get to the sex part. There's so much more to do with intimacy.
Yeah.
And what I've been finding, and I talk about this on my other podcast, Intuition and Orgasms, is that there's no teaching about this. You don't come out of school, or you don't, become sexually active, or no one sits you down and goes, this is pleasure. This is a conscious relationship. Yeah. This is what intimacy is. And if you're modeling it off your parents, I was doomed from day one if that was what I was to do. I didn't witness any form of romance or, intimacy was not spoken about at all. There wasn't even oh, mom and dad are, making love in the next room. I don't think I've ever, been aware that they ever did. I'm like, oh, so clearly you only had sex 3 times, one for me, one for my sister, and one for my brother.
Yes, very much so.
And this is the thing, I know that when I first got the job at the sex shop or the adult store that I worked at, I could see my parents squirming.
They're God, just what are we going to tell the neighbors?
Oh no. Oh, Jennifer. And then it was, I guess it was the evolution of that as well. And so, but, I guess to their credit, they weren't taught either.
Yeah.
They weren't sat down and be like, okay, this is a conscious relationship. This is intimacy. Go and explore this, go and explore that. Yeah. It was none of that. And I went to an all-girls Catholic school. And so they weren't even allowed to show us how to put condoms on because it was against Catholic tradition.
Yeah.
And so I think they maybe showed something to do with the banana and a condom or something like that. I don't know. God. And so there was no education piece on what it is. And I remember a couple of months ago, I sat down with my daughter and they've started doing a little bit of body education at school. She's still in primary school. And I said to her, do you understand your anatomy? And I went to get just an educational image off Google and everything was banned. There was barely anything.
Have you read the book? I think it's called Women's Anatomy of Arousal or Women's Anatomy of Pleasure by Sherry. I can't think of her name. I read this book in my love, sex and relationship training back in, I think, 2016. I bought so many copies of that book and gave it to girlfriends. I gave it to my kids and I was like, this is a really good book. Read it, do what you want with it. And it was so in-depth. It was really down to earth, the way it was written, had diagrams and all sorts of things. But it's not how they teach in the schools.
No.
We need, the curriculum needs to change.
It really does.
Yeah.
It really does. Because I sat down with my daughter. I found a diagram on Google. I printed it out and I said, this is what things look like. Yeah. This is what it is. You know, there's no access to that for people. And the thing is, if you're curious and you don't have a relationship like I have with my daughter, which she can come and talk to me about anything, same as with my son. Yeah. We talk about everything.
Yeah.
And if you don't have that kind of relationship, you're going to get curious in other areas and that could lead you into some trouble as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I have the same relationship with my kids. There's been, they're in their 20s now, but there was times around the dinner table that I was like, just taking these deep breaths inside. But, I love that that's what I created for them. They felt safe to come talk to me. I never felt safe to talk to my parents about things.
Yeah.
And, I think safety for conversation is really paramount.
Absolutely. And I think it's the same. It's not just with sex as well. It's money.
Yeah.
It's death. It's all of these taboo things, even our intuition.
Yeah.
Because I was so intuitive from such a young age and no one ever sat me down and said that inner voice or that sensation that you're experiencing or those feelings that you're having or the voices or anything like that. No one sat me down to
Yeah.
tell me what that was. All I was told was that, oh, yeah, your auntie sees ghosts.
Yeah. I was blessed. My mum was, at my age, she taught tarot, numerology.
Oh, my
She
gosh,
had
how amazing.
meditation circles at home. She doesn't do it now. But I was blessed that I had her in my life, because my dad was the complete opposite. They weren't together then, but a lot of the women that I teach in my psychic development classes have had that, and there's a really deep imprinting, from Catholicism, and there's so much religious trauma and fear of demons and devils and all this sort of stuff. And NLP and how much of what we perceive becomes our reality.
Yeah.
So I have a belief that stuff doesn't exist. But I also have a belief that if that exists for you, because you believe in demons and devils, it's in
there.
Filter system.
Yeah.
You will experience.
Absolutely.
We could have the same experience of something, and you will see it in your reality in a different way to the way I do. And that's very real. But that comes from our programming.
Exactly that. And this is why it's so important to have self-awareness, to know what those things are, so that you can go, is this serving me? Like, is this actually real for me? And it's through, because I said, I grew up in that Catholic society.
Yeah.
It's only been in the last probably 12 to 18 months, I've started really integrating the word God.
Yeah.
And that was a big one for me, because there was so much around. There was every piece of stigma I could carry around the word God. And I would dance around it for a long time. Oh, universe, source, creator. And even though I use those words still, I'm like, nope, get comfortable with the word God, because
we don't need religion to believe in God.
Exactly. I actually, one of the catalysts for me is that I listened to the audiobook of Conversations with God.
Oh yeah.
Game changer. Yeah. Absolute game changer for me. And so I listened to all of the series of them, and I was like, this feels nice. And now Cass and I are, listening and following the traditions of Kabbalah as well. And they speak about the creator. And I was like, are we just dancing around the word God again in a different way?
Or is it just a belief system? Or, I feel like religion has kind of taken us away from the word God. Where did the word God come from, though? Was that something created from religion? We just all talking
Was
about
it bastardized by religion?
Right?
Exactly. Yeah.
We're all talking about the same thing. As long as we're not tiptoeing, I use God now. But I didn't before. Yeah. And sometimes I notice in my programs, so I say universe, spirit. I say spirit mostly, but I do say God more now.
Yeah.
In the programs that I run, I'm very cautious of saying it, because people jolt their system because of the religious trauma or beliefs or disbeliefs that they have. With what they're connecting to.
Yeah, I find that too. My personal stuff, I'll share the word God. In other things, I'll give a reframe, because I've been in programs and stuff before where the word God was used, and I did recoil. I was like, I'm not comfortable with that yet.
Yeah. I think too, if we regulate our nervous system enough to be comfortable in speaking it, we can also just trust that whatever lands for them.
Absolutely.
Lands for them for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And I think the recoil won't be as bad if we're not recoiling at the thought of saying it and upset, worrying we're going to upset as well.
Yeah. So. And sometimes I'll say to people, I'll use this word, you can interpret it however you want to. That's totally fine. Yeah, absolutely. Beautiful. What does it look like for people to step into your world and work with you? Tell us about that.
Well, up until now, my world is TikTok. Do we meet on TikTok, or do we meet? How did we meet?
I think
Facebook. Maybe?
Must have been Facebook. It was when you and the other Jen were doing the podcast, and perhaps you put a call out or something.
In like-minded bitches drinking wine, maybe.
Very likely that one. Yes.
That's it. I think that's where we connected.
Yeah.
And we were so close. But so most people come into my world from TikTok.
Because you're pretty TikTok famous. You've gone viral more than a couple of times.
Yes, back in the day. So I have nearly 600,000 followers over there. I've been on TikTok since 2020 when the big C happened.
Yeah.
And people were sort of transitioning. I just showed up. I didn't do silly dances. I refused to do silly dances.
Yeah.
I think I did one this year. So you can find that. Good
You're
luck.
so trendy.
But I just show up. I'm a bobbing head on a screen. I just educate. That's all I do on there.
Yeah.
I take people into meditations, into experiences, and I share wisdom. That's it. And that's how people generally find me. So they're either there consuming free content, they find their way to my free masterclasses, and then they decide to work with me from there. I generally do group programs and some one-on-ones. So people usually reach out and do one-on-ones. But my group programs generally aren't just group. I sort of have a hybrid model where I have the group program and I support it with one-on-ones. So they get, they get a taste of both.
Yeah. Amazing. So we'll link to all of that in the show notes. It's been a pleasure having you here. Before we wrap up, I have one final question.
Oh, yes.
Kristy, what is the meaning of life?
Oh, my God. The meaning of life. I think the meaning of life is really just, I think we're here to find out who we are underneath it all and just live.
Yeah.
You know, it's not about being happy or being joyful all the time. It's about coming back to yourself and learning, and I suppose just to ride the waves of what comes your way.
Yeah, beautiful.
And just stay in integrity with yourself and the world around us. We're just here to experience us.
And when things get fucked, just walk the Camino.
Right. Just ask me. I've done 4 already in a space of 12 months.
Overachiever. Thank you so much for being here. It's been such a pleasure to have you on the show. And we'll see you on the next episode.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining me for this episode. I hope you love the Enlightened podcast, and the biggest compliment you can give me is subscribing to this podcast, sharing it, and leaving a rating and review. Feel free to follow me on Instagram. My handle is @JenHamiltonOfficial, and the podcast handle is Enlightened_podcast. You can also find the video version on YouTube on my channel. Just search Enlightened and don't forget to hit subscribe. Have a beautiful day and enjoy living the enlightened journey of life.